Guys, it's going down this weekend at UFC 293 with Adesanya stepping up to defend his title against Sean Strickland, and my partners at DraftKings are offering an incredible deal for all new customers who sign up using the promo code Sonnen. New customers, you can bet $5 on any of this weekend's fights, and you're going to receive $200 in bonus bets instantly. You can even use your bonus bets on DraftKings same fight parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Combine multiple bets together from the same fight, including number of rounds and method of victory. Remember, DraftKings is the only place where you can bet same fight parlays. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy. So click on the link below. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use the promo code Sonnen and get in on all the fun. All right, so I asked a question a few times. I've got my answer. I've asked you guys multiple times, is Dricus Du Plessi going to be in Australia? Is he going to follow the instructions given to him by the champ, who said, I will reward you with a title fight if and only if you're in attendance? And I got my answer, no. The answer is no. He is not going. He is not there. He's not coming in. I don't know why. I wish I did. I think that would be helpful. I think Dricus can tell Izzy to take his ideas and shove them up his ass. I'm not coming because you told me to be. You don't tell me what to do. I think that it would be something like that. That didn't happen. But we do know that he's not going to be there. All right, great. Well, how sincere was Izzy, right? I mean, it's a wildly interesting question. One, that's an interesting fight. That's the fight that we thought we were going to have. It's a fight that we wanted to have. They were going in directions that were hot. So I'm just sharing with you. I don't know that can be replaced. I don't know that there's even a really strong argument to replace it. I think Izzy has some incredible skills with a microphone, and he could create something quickly with a guy who's there in Jared Cannonier. But Izzy's going to be working alone if he goes into partnership with Cannonier. So it's an interesting spot. I would think that we're going to do that fight, not because people want to do it and not because history says that if you pass on fights, you can still get the fight. It's not. I don't think that there's another option. I don't think it's realistic for Izzy to say, I'm looking at the winner of Chimaev and Paulo Costa as long as it's Chimaev. Oh, and by the way, that's a month away. That's just not his style. He does it, and he does it that night. But he generally will also do it with somebody who's there, and he made it very clear, you got to be there. Now, how much are we going to hold Izzy to that? Us? Not at all. Zero. He can go fight him until he has to be there, and he's not there. But how much will Izzy hold him to that? Is Izzy going to let it be known that he can tell a guy to do this one thing? I'll make you rich. I'll give you an opportunity that I already gave you, and I shouldn't give it to you again, but I will give it to you again, but you're going to sit there. If the guy doesn't sit there, well, let's throw it back to Izzy to find out. And we've got a little bit of an answer because he was at a press conference yesterday, and he said Du Plessis is going to have to do 1 or 2 fights before he gets to me. I'm not going to go to him next. Okay, that's strong. That sounded like the Izzy that I know, comma, not period. Going to have to ask Dana. Now, that's a big deal. That's a completely different statement. He needs to do 1 or 2 fights. He shouldn't have turned down this opportunity. You're going to have to ask Dana. That is a massively different statement. Okay, great. Let's go do that very thing. And guess what? Somebody did. Did you hear what Dana said? Dana said, I don't love it when guys turn down fights, but we'll see what happens. So that apparently is what we have to go off of. Izzy took the ball and passed it. So now we no longer need to know what Izzy thinks. He said he's going to think whatever Dana thinks. Dana says, I don't love it, but we'll see what happens. So it's still on the table very much. Now, the good news is Cannonier does not know the math. He doesn't know the history of Izzy. He doesn't know that Izzy calls people out live that night. He doesn't know that Izzy has picked his own opponents his entire reign. He doesn't know that he is the highest ranked and only middleweight that will be in attendance that night. He doesn't know any of these things. So he's not going to do anything. So there is room for Du Plessis to keep this thing very sharp and very interesting. And we need to see what happens. We really need to see what happens. Because the way that Chimaev and Paulo Costa came together, right? The fact that they broke Paulo off of a fight that he had already done his training camp for to move him to a different date is not something that I personally believe would be done or could be done without a promise of a title fight with a victory, which makes that an unnamed number one contenders match. Now, again, I admit it to you guys, right? I hinge sometimes on the idea that there's information out there that they've kept from us, and very seldomly is that true. So I fully admit for you that this is a guess. And for the first time ever, possibly Adesanya won't call somebody out. Me telling you what Du Plessis needs to do to get the fight, or me telling you what Jared Cannonier could and should have to expect come Saturday, all hinges on the idea that history repeats itself and Izzy calls out his next opponent right then. He might not. I was very surprised at the press conference when he made a definitive statement of Du Plessis needs one or two more victories for turning this down. We'll have to see what Dana says. He's very respectful, he's very polite. I'm sharing for you. He is now past the ball. And for the guy in the company's history who has controlled his own career more than any athlete has ever even thought of doing, was a surprise. But here we are. And I will tell you in all fairness, I don't know of a fight that could touch public interest Adesanya versus Du Plessis. But there could be things that we don't know. I don't know of a fighter like Adesanya who can fight in 5-round main events, train that same way, travel around and do the media, and not need a break and need a little bit of time off. That could be what's coming. Hey guys, gonna take some time off. Then that way, what that does is buys you an opportunity to see the Chimaev-Paulo Costa fight. But, I mean, what's a pound of flesh? Do you want to fight Du Plessis or not? Do you want to punish Du Plessis? Is that what it is? Okay, great, don't fight him. That'll punish him. Or do you want to fight him? There's only one way to fight him, which is by fighting him, right? So we're in this very precarious position, of which gets disqualified instantly should Sean Strickland beat him. Then you get a wrench thrown into everything. So you got to make your moves and you got to make your plays. But you got a bunch of guys here that are sitting around with their thumb in their ass. And by the way, that has really been the story of 2023. Like, guys have gotten fights that they did nothing strategic to get them. The good news was, no one around them did either. So eventually, you just kind of spin the ball around, and the power ball comes out, and hey, it's this guy. So, I mean, you got a crew of 85-pounders. The only one that's done anything to get a fight with Izzy is Sean Strickland, who, by the way, is fighting Izzy. You then have a whole crop of them who have, in my opinion, they've made it clear, I don't want to fight him. If you don't call a guy out, it's not because you're a gentleman. It's not because you're polite. It's because you don't want to do the fight. It's the same reason people don't call Volkanovski out. They do the fight when their phone rings, right? They do the fight to the point that Volk has to call them out for not calling him out. You got one guy who went after the fight, and he got it. I mean, this is just a glaringly obvious situation of what you do. You go after guys. Unless you don't want to fight them. There's all sorts of things you can do. You can not show up. You can back down. You can fake an injury. I mean, there's a million things that you can do. Turns out we got a million middleweights all doing one of them.